TitleMatchNetwork.com.
So I mean, I worked every TV taping.
Right.
I had a match.
Right.
You know, and then at that time, that's when I was teamed up. They teamed me up with Greg the
I
Hammer.
was going to ask you how you got paired with him.
They just he was the IC champion, and then I think Tito took the belt from him.
Right.
He was in a big program with Tito Santana, and they just, for some reason, I don't know why, George Scott was the booker at this time, and they teamed us up. He liked Greg a lot, and they teamed us up, and we just it was a very odd couple combination. But
you guys were called the Dream Team, right?
Yep.
Right.
But we worked well together, and as I had known Greg from the earlier years, but didn't known him that well. But we wound up, gelling together as a team, and kept gathering momentum. So that's when they decided, they went ahead and put the belts on Greg and I.
I was going to ask you, was the title win over Windham and Rotunda, was that a hot shot, or was that like planned as far as like giving the belts to you guys?
Oh, they were definitely planning giving the belts to us. They Windham and Rotunda, kind of the crybaby team at that time. They wound up quitting. Right, we had worked up to a big angle, and I burned Barry Windham's eye with a lit cigar.
It was at Spectrum, I believe, in Philadelphia.
At Philadelphia Spectrum, man, and in front of 19,000, one of the biggest houses ever. And then they quit, and so they actually, that screwed us,
right?
Because we had put 8 months into a program, and then switched the belts because they were, what were they called? The American Express,
right?
All-American team,
right.
The 2 All-American boys, and here's the 2 brawlers, the Beefcake and Greg the Hammer, and burned his eye, and put him out of wrestling for a while, and their big comeback, and it was supposed to go on for probably a year-long program with those guys. And now they were gone, and we really didn't have anybody to work with. They just had brought in the British Bulldogs. You had the Killer Bees,
right.
And you had Volkov and Sheik and Volkov, and who had the belts before, and just passed the belts on to Windham Rotunda.
Right.
And then we were in a big program, so that now we had to spend the next year getting the Bulldogs over,
right?
And that was pretty tough.
I was going to ask you about that.
There were some real battles at first with those guys. I remember watching some of the old videotapes not long ago, and it was literally a fight from the get go with both of them, David
right.
Boy and Dynamite. They were both muscled up and hot out of Japan, and both been working in Japan quite a bit, and they're used to that Rambo just style of
right.
Nobody sells, and just boom, 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 all kind of crazy stuff, and our style was completely different than that. It was more traditional, start slow and work the people and work in the ring and psychology. Greg Valentine was a second generation wrestler, and I would say a master of ring psychology and taking his time in the ring. A guy liked to wrestle 25, 30 minutes a night. That's, and had all his life.
Right.
And had matches and wrestled hour matches with guys like Harley Race
right.
and Jack Briscoe, and wrestled for world championships in other leagues, and the NWA days and stuff like that. So our styles were completely different. So it took some time, and then we rolled into WrestleMania 2. And put the belts on the Bulldogs, and then wound up working with them for almost a whole nother year.
Right.
TitleMatchNetwork.com.